evening. We have a beautiful cruise ahead of you. As I'm sure you're aware, we had 3 boats this evening. We added an extra cruise at the end of the day. This is the first time all summer we've done the 7:30 evening cruise. So it's going to be a nice one. You guys lucked out. You got on the best boat with the far superior and better looking crew. So we're going to have a good time tonight, that is for sure. Welcome aboard the Connie Marlene. Have a look off the right hand side. That's where we're headed to. We're going to be going basically due south this evening with our destination, Glacier National Park, Montana. We are headed to the USA, down this valley. That means we're going to have to quarantine, you bet, 2 weeks. We have a crew of 2 on board. We're both captains licensed to Transport Canada. We've been trained in firefighting, first aid, man overboard situations. So we're going to take good care of you this evening. Your captain at the helm, just on the radio at the moment, Captain Mike. He's a born and raised local from the Waterton area. He's been piloting these vessels now for over a decade. He has his master limited license up to 60 tons vessels. He's got his small vessel machinery operator license. He is a very experienced captain, born and raised local. So that's Captain Mike. My name is Jeremy. I will be your tour guide this evening. I myself am also a captain licensed to Transport Canada, but I'm also born and raised local as well. I grew up about 10 minutes outside of the Waterton town site, right along the north boundary of the park. So growing up here in Waterton, I've done a lot of hiking, climbing, skiing in the winter months, ice skating, kayaking, all the fun outdoor sports. And I've gained a lot of information about Waterton Lakes National Park, as well as Glacier Park to the south of us. So today, I hope to provide you with a local's perspective and a local's appreciation of this beautiful national park. And I hope to enhance your boat ride, make it as enjoyable for you guys as possible. The thing is, here in Waterton is when you go to the visitor center, you go to the hotel, you go to a restaurant, you start asking questions to some of the summer staff. Well, they're new here. Most of them, they come from Eastern Canada. They're just out for the summer. University college students for the most part. So it's a nice place to go for a little stroll. Maybe when you get back to town this evening, if you feel like going for a little walk, just walk around the shoreline here. There's a little cobblestone path. But then when you look past the town site, this is it. This is the last form of civilization. So you could wave goodbye. Because when you look ahead of us, this is all pristine backcountry wilderness. There's no civilization down here. There's no roads. There's no telephone poles. There's no cabins along the shoreline. It's all pristine backcountry wilderness, bear country. All you're going to find in terms of human development as we make our way south is a few hiking trails and a couple docks in some of the bays that act. There's tons of different animals here in the national park. I'm sure you guys have already seen the mule deer right in town. The mule deer. They have the babies, the little fawns, the newborns this last spring. They have white dots all over them. Those are the babies. There's some Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep right in town as well. Bighorn sheep, the males, they're known as rams. They have a full curl, a big horn going around their head on both sides. Those are quite impressive. You'll see those right in town from time to time. There's red fox in the town sites. They're usually darting around, preying on the ground squirrels. There's great horned owls in the evening time. You can listen to them. As we make our way around the shoreline, we often see elk, moose, white-tailed deer, sometimes even mountain goats. With the mountain goats, typically you see them through a set of binoculars. They're usually near the tops of the mountains above the tree line. And the mountain goats, they're all white in color. They're snow white, little jet black horns. Members of the cat family, we have mountain lions or cougars here in Waterton. And there's a very healthy population of mountain lions in the park, but you would never know because they are incredibly rare and elusive animals, most active late at night, very early in the morning. up here. About 45-minute hike from the town side of Waterton. So about 45 minutes to get here. And I don't know if you might have noticed, but there was a tent that was set up in the forest. Because this is one of, there's a couple tents. This is one of 8 backcountry campgrounds in Waterton National Park. So with a permit from Parks Canada, I think it's about $10 a night, something like that. You bring your tent, you bring your sleeping bag, some food, and you spend the night out here in the backcountry. How does that sound? Yeah? For some people, not for others. For sure. So a nice little place to camp. Bertha Bay. Notice here on the right-hand side, look at all these trees. They have been burnt. They have been scorched. We had a very large forest fire back in 2017 that burnt all these trees. And when you look back towards town, everything around the town site has been burnt. I'm sure you guys noticed. If you take a drive up the Red Rock Canyon, Cameron Lake, you've seen the devastation of that forest fire in 2017. It was called the Keenaw wildfire. It began on the side of Keenaw Mountain, caused by a lightning strike. Keenaw Mountain is located in British Columbia to the west of us. When that fire began, it was burning in a very remote area. Because it was burning in such a remote area, Parks Canada decided to let it take its natural course. Because that's what they would typically do when the fire is not threatening any buildings or construction. So this fire began to slowly grow in size. Typical westerly winds began pushing that fire towards Waterton National Park. That's when Parks Canada began actively fighting that fire right along the Alberta. So looking ahead of us, see there's a big cliff face. This is the local cliff jumping area. And luckily for you guys, that is included in the price of your ticket. Everybody gets one jump. Who wants to go first? Anybody? Yeah, you got one volunteer? Awesome.
Wow.
So this cliff
This looks like
basically drops straight down into the lake. Goes down 90 feet. So just off this cliff ledge, it's a straight drop off. Perfect for cliff jumping. From the very top, about 150 feet up. Seen one person jump from up the very top. Most people will hike up one of these little ledges and jump from about 30, 40, 50 feet up. Kind of choose where you want to go. Check out Mother Nature's rock garden. Look at the life growing off these cliffs.
Yeah.
You can see the orange color. That's called lichen. It's an algae and a fungi living together, growing right off the rock. There's no soil on that lichen.
Wow.
You can see mosses and grasses and certain little cracks between the rocks.
Woo.
But the most amazing thing, or something that's kind of how a miniature example of how these mountains came to be. With the bending, buckling, folding up the rocks, these mountains were crusted up. Here's some Waterton's finest fishermen. These guys are constantly pulling out the biggest fish out of this lake. 20, 30 pounders, no problem, all day. They're going after lake trout. Lake trout, that's the main catch here in the lake. The biggest lake trout ever pulled out of this lake was 52 pounds. A record 52-pound lake trout. That's the Alberta record. That's the biggest one in all of Alberta. It was a monster fish caught back in 1920. It's actually 101 years ago now. And it's a great fishing story, how this fish was caught. Back in 1920, local couple from Lethbridge, Alberta, about an hour and a half north of here. They drove down to Waterton, a couple fishing rods. Their names were Mr. Cal Hunter and Mrs. Eleanor Hunter. They go to finish up that story, well, Mr. Hunter and his buddies, they left her behind because they thought she was bad luck. But at the end of the day, when the boys got back to the dock, they were stumped. They didn't catch a single fish all day, only to find, waiting for them on the dock, was with a fishing pole in one hand and a 52-pound lake trout in the other, was Mrs. Eleanor Hunter. She holds the record for the biggest lake trout ever pulled out of this lake to this day. Single-handedly, Eleanor changed the mentality in the water. Now it's considered great luck to have a lady on board their fishing boat. Just ask your Captain Mike. Every time he's on his own private boat, he's trying to get as many ladies aboard as possible. Just for good luck, right? That's a great fishing story told by Eleanor Hunter. Other types of fish in the lake, we have rainbow trout, eastern brook trout. There are northern pike, freshwater lake cod, deep water sculpin. There's a good international cruise.
They're in the US, and then the people inside the boat are in Canada.
Yeah.
When was the last time you guys crossed the border? Probably about a year and a half now. It's been quite a while.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. We're going to spin around now. We're going to head further into Glacier National Park, Montana, into U.S. waters.
It's the border, US and Canada border.
We're going to go explore the heart of Glacier National Park.
आगे एक छोटा पार्क था अभी दिखाएंगे उतारेंगे नहीं लेकिन
So now I would like to officially welcome everyone to the great state of Montana, Glacier National Park, USA. That we're You guys feel that jolt in your pocket? Your guys' loony coins just turned into 75 cents. Bear. Now, how do you tell these two bears apart? That can be rather difficult at times. A couple things you want to look for when you're trying to tell these two bears apart, the black bear and the grizzly bear. First thing you want to look for is the highest point on the bear's body. Now, the highest point on a grizzly bear is a hump of muscle between the shoulder blades behind the neck. You can see when they're all on all fours, the highest point is the shoulders of the bear. Whereas the highest point on a black bear is the bum, the rear end of the bear. When we saw that bear along the shoreline there, you could see his profile of his back. He didn't have a hump. There was no big muscle in the shoulders. So the highest point in his body was kind of the rump, the rear end of the bear. You can also tell the bears apart by looking at the facial features of the bears. When we looked at that bear, you noticed he had kind of a long snout, a cone-shaped face. If you noticed his ears, he had very large triangular-shaped ears. And that is an indicator of a black bear. Kind of like a German Shepherd dog, a cone-shaped face, big, large ears. So a black bear. A grizzly bear's face looks a little bit different. The face of a grizzly bear is dished in. It has a big, flat, broad forehead, a round face, and a small, pig-like snout coming off their nose, much smaller than the black bear's cone-shaped snout. Grizzly bears also have very small ears. Little semicircle ears on the side of their head like a teddy bear. So those little tiny ears, they're almost hard to see. The black bears, those large, pointy ears. So those are your two best ways to tell the bears apart. The absolute worst way to tell the bears apart is by looking at the color of the bear. And that's a common misconception, especially because of the name black bear, right? The black bears, they come in all different colors. They can be black, they can be brown, blonde, cinnamon, a reddish color, and even in rare cases, they can be almost white. So that's the black bear. They should be called maybe a tree bear or forest bear because they will only live in the lower montane forest areas such as this. So don't use color. And that also goes for grizzly bears as well. Grizzly bears are not always that traditional brown or grizzled kind of blonde color. They can be black as well. Grizzly bears can be jet black. They can be a lighter reddish cinnamon color as well. So don't use color. Look at the highest point, look at that hump of muscle, and look at the facial features. I suppose you could also tell the bears apart by their claw length. So the grizzly bears have 3 to 6 inch long claws. Black bears, 1 to 2 inch long claws, used mostly for climbing trees. But if you're looking at the claw length, you're probably way too close for comfort, right? So here is the beautiful Miss Waterton off our left. What a sight to see. Built back in 1981. Built in Vancouver, BC. She was built for the ocean in a place called Canoe Cove near Sydney, BC. Pretty remarkable ship. Being piloted by Captain Mitchell Gilchrist. Legendary captain around these parts. Co-pilot Matthew Kretz. Deckhand at the back, Ed Robinson. What a crew. We're going to be overtaking them because, as we said earlier, we're the superior crew. Now that your cruise with us is coming to an end, I'd like to take this time to thank you guys for coming out on a boat ride with us. I really hope you enjoyed the cruise this evening. Hopefully you enjoyed my commentary.